ขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่สุทธิชัยพอดแคสต์ณบัดนี้สนับสนุนโดยบริษัทกาแฟดำจำกัดคนไทยได้ยินชื่อ AstraZeneca มาตั้งแต่โควิดระบาดในประเทศไทยมา2 ปีกว่า AstraZeneca เป็นบริษัทที่ทำยาและพอมีเรื่องโควิดก็ทำงานวิจัยผลิตวัคซีนและในประเทศไทยเรารู้จักดีเพราะว่า AstraZeneca นั้นจับมือกับ3 Bioscience ของเราวันนี้ผมพบกับผู้บริหารคนสำคัญของ AstraZeneca บินมาจากอังกฤษครับตำแหน่งของเธอเนี่ยชื่อ Executive Vice President ก็คือรองกรรมการผู้จัดการฝ่ายวัคซีนกับ Immune Therapy ก็คือดูแลเรื่องวัคซีนและเรื่องของการพัฒนาว่าด้วยภูมิคุ้มกันฉะนั้นคุณอิสกราเรอิกซึ่งมาประเทศไทยเป็นครั้งแรกและมีความรับผิดชอบเกี่ยวกับเรื่องวัคซีนแต่ไม่ใช่วัคซีนอย่างเดียวครับเธอดูแลสิ่งที่เขาเรียกว่า life saving science ก็คือการวิจัยการใช้วิทยาศาสตร์ในการที่จะช่วยชีวิตคนและมีข่าวเกี่ยวกับเรื่องยาตัวใหม่ที่ชื่อeVoshel เป็นยาฉีดที่เขาบอกว่าป้องกันโควิดได้ดังนั้นวันนี้พอมีโอกาสคุณอิสกราเรอิกมาประเทศไทยผมต้องตั้งคำถามเกี่ยวกับ AstraZeneca เกี่ยวกับการวิจัยมองอนาคตยุทธศาสตร์ว่าด้วยโควิดของ AstraZeneca และนวัตกรรม eVoshel ว่าคนไทยจะได้ใช้เมื่อไหร่ครับ So welcome to Thailand.
Thank you.
I think this is a very opportune time for you to visit Thailand, and I think your main mission would be to, of course, talk to your staff and also to talk to the Thai people about what AstraZeneca has been doing, will be doing, and also what can Thailand and, of course, the region expect from AstraZeneca. So tell me about your responsibility in AstraZeneca.
So before I go there, thank you for inviting me, and it's a true pleasure to be here in Bangkok. As you said, to speak and spend time with the AstraZeneca team here on the ground, but equally to talk with many different people. And I'm very pleased to say that from a different government officials to yourself to different healthcare professionals, I heard a lot. And a lot of encouraging and positive spirit, if I may say, in the last 3 days. So
I can tell you that AstraZeneca is very well known in Thailand, especially since the outbreak of COVID, because of your close collaboration also with San Bioscience, and also when COVID started to come here, we were looking forward to AstraZeneca. There was in the beginning. The waiting for AstraZeneca was very exciting for Thai people. So when can you deliver the first batch? And then when you were not able to meet all the demands, which in the beginning was quite high, we were saying, come on, AstraZeneca, we are waiting for you. So finally, everything went smooth. And now we are happy. So it's a good time for you to tell us your plans, the future, and of course the exciting news about eVoshel.
So thank you for cheering for us in the beginning of the crisis. It is really true that in Thailand specifically, as in many other places, we've really experienced a fantastic collaboration and the partnership. You are mentioning yourself SBS and the scaling up manufacturing that helped not only Thailand but also Southeast Asia, and equally with the Thai government. So I'm very pleased that AstraZeneca vaccine played such a critical role in Thailand for fighting the pandemic. We were doing some modelings and looking, what is the impact of the vaccine. And in Thailand, if you look specifically, it's actually saved more than 5,000 lives, which is quite impressive. And we feel extremely proud to be able to do that. If you think globally, AstraZeneca vaccine saved more than 1 million lives.
Wow!
Which is quite
it's
quite
something
impressive.
to be proud of.
Yes.
Something which I think was unexpected before the outbreak of
Yes.
COVID-19. So this is a very important contribution to public health globally.
Yes, and we do feel proud about that. And from the beginning of the crisis, we really committed ourselves to try to do our utmost best, which is really the reason why we started our collaboration with University of Oxford and trying to bring everybody together, academia, governments, manufacturing partners across the globe, to really produce the vaccine for the world. That was our strong mission and commitment, and it's a huge pleasure to be in Thailand and in many other places that that vaccine touched so many lives.
You are now the Executive Vice President for Vaccine and Immune Therapies of AstraZeneca. Tell us what you do and how are you related to Thailand?
Yes. So we made a strategic decision in AstraZeneca a few months ago to form a new unit, as you rightly said, is named the Vaccine and Immune Therapy Unit, and I have a privilege to lead that unit globally. That means that we really want to, on one side, leverage on the great effort and great results that has been done in the company during the COVID-19, but equally we really want to see what else we can do in the future. On one side, to continue helping and partnering governments and the people around the world to go through the pandemic, from pandemic to post-pandemic to hopefully endemic phase. What are the other tools that the government and healthcare systems will need to protect the people? But equally, looking beyond COVID, we do have the important portfolio that flu portfolio, the portfolio against RSV. We have an innovative medicine that will probably be a game changer in how you will protect infants against RSV, and that obviously comes every season.
Yes.
And then equally, we are looking at what are the new interesting, strong innovative scientific platforms that we can utilize to extend that portfolio and pipeline even more. And global unit has the responsibility to develop that pipeline and portfolio, but equally, to come here on the ground and make sure that that portfolio makes a difference for the people and patients across the world.
How important is Thailand and Southeast Asia to AstraZeneca now?
Southeast Asia and Thailand is one of the important regions or areas in AstraZeneca, no question, from the kind of overall business perspective. I think South Asia and Thailand specifically played an extremely important role during the COVID-19. And as you probably know, to be able to supply the vaccine across the globe, we set up 25 supply chains across in the 15 countries. 6 of those supply chains were actually based in Asia.
Wow.
And as you know, we have a great partnership here with SBS. So being able to scale up manufacturing that fast to supply Thailand and South Asia definitely played a critical, very important role in the last 2 years.
There are 3 main topics I'd like to discuss with you. That is first your COVID strategy, if you can give us an idea of now and the future. Second is your leadership in science. Of course, that is the most important part. Without science, you cannot scale up and you cannot expand your services contribution to the global situation. And then, of course, sustainability. You cannot think about the future without thinking about sustainability. So, tell me about your strategy in COVID.
So I think the strategy is twofold. On one side is making sure that Vaxzevria and our vaccine continues to play an important role in the post-pandemic and endemic phase, and we stay committed to continue doing that. But equally, moving to the endemic phase, it's very clear that every government and the healthcare stakeholders, as well as us, we don't want to leave anybody behind.
Right.
We need to make sure that we provide or help provide the normal or new normal life for everybody. And it is important to know that there is let's say around 2% of the people who are not able to develop the antibodies after no matter how many doses of the vaccine.
That's right.
And this is because either the underlying condition or the different treatments that are using. And for those high-risk, vulnerable patients, endemic will not happen, or post-pandemic will not happen if we don't find a way how to protect them. And that's why we put a huge efforts in the last 2 years to develop a long-acting monoclonal antibody. Simply said, this is a combination of two monoclonal antibodies that actually mimic the antibody of our body.
The mimic the antibody in
exactly.
the body. And what is exciting is I heard that this particular innovation called EvoShield can prevention. That is very exciting. Is that really guaranteed now? Is it workable? Is it doable in the market now?
Yeah, so EvoShield is the only monoclonal antibody that demonstrated, as you said, efficacy in preventing, so preventing the patients who need the prevention from COVID-19, and equally the clinical trials demonstrated that it can treat inpatient and outpatient for the COVID-19. So EvoShield is currently approved in more than 10 markets or almost 15 across the world for the prophylaxis. We are still in negotiations with in discussions with the regulators about the approval of the treatment, because the clinical data were published relatively recently. I'm always happy to say that there is a huge interest from many governments and the healthcare stakeholders to ensure protection for those patients, and therefore we have number of contracts with the governments across the globe, more than 20 of them, some of them in Southeast Asia as well. And I was very pleased to hear from a healthcare minister and healthcare opinion leaders here in Thailand that they also share that interest and willingness
to provide.
They are working on it. I think it's really important because when you think about the patients who are on dialysis, patients that are transplant patients, oncology patients, patients who are receiving immunosuppressive medicines that are suppressing their immune system for many different diseases. All those patients are in this high-risk, vulnerable group, and they do need additional protection to be able to avoid the COVID-19.
When you say long-acting antibody, what does long-acting mean?
So yes, it is a long-acting, and by now in the data we have, EvoShield demonstrated 6 months duration of the protection. We do believe that as we continue to collect the data, that duration of protection can be even longer.
So that is very innovative, and that is something really new. And in fact, AstraZeneca is leading the way. When you compare it with the other manufacturers, you are leading the way on this particular innovation?
Yes, as I mentioned, EvoShield is the only approved monoclonal for prophylaxis and prevention. So yes, there you can definitely say that, and I think that AstraZeneca is really continuing in what we have been doing for the last few years, specifically in COVID, but also beyond COVID, trying to leading the way in the science and innovation.
You talk about the vulnerable who will benefit from this. In Thailand, we call it the 608. 6 means over 60, and 8 meaning the 8 diseases. I don't know whether you use the same abbreviation, but here when we say 608, it means this will be, you're getting special attention from it. So would this EvoShield be aiming at only these people, or it can, at the later stage, apply to other age groups as well?
So first of all, I think what 608 is a great way, and I learned this 2 days ago. I was quite impressed how simple and clear way you can actually explain.
You just say 608 and we understand.
So very good way. I think it will be good that other countries are following that example. So for the prophylaxis, for the prevention of the COVID, that group is the real target or the group that really needs that prevention from Evusheld. But equally, when we talk about the treatment of COVID, that will apply for all the in or outside hospital patients who are already who already have COVID-19 to be able to accelerate the treatment.
So what issues did you raise with the government leaders today in Thailand?
I must say, in a crisis or in the kind of managing the crisis, there are always issues and equally opportunities. I must say that majority of our discussions were really recognizing the importance of the great partnership and what each and every member of that collaboration did to ensure the vaccine plays such an important role in Thailand. We were also discussing the future in the very similar way as we are touching it now, what AstraZeneca can do moving forward, and how we stay committed to the Thailand and to the Southeast Asia area, making sure again that we provide innovative medicine not only for COVID-19 but also, as you probably know, we have quite an exciting science in the cardiology, renal, metabolic, oncology, and rare diseases.
Right. So when can Thai people expect to have Evusheld?
Well, we are doing our best and working on it. I hope it will be soon.
Year, probably.
I definitely hope it will be before the end of the year.
Yes. I'm sure if this news goes out to the Thai public, they'll get very excited.
And I'm sure that specifically, people who need that protection and their families will definitely be excited with the opportunity, because that is the only way that we can provide option for them to go back and live new normal or the normal life like the rest of us.
Yeah, so looking at the science leadership of AstraZeneca, what's next?
Well, I hope AstraZeneca is recognized as one of the scientific leaders across, as I mentioned, the portfolio. And I think, there are two things that we always kind of look for. One is how we make sure that we stay at the forefront of the research and development innovation and bring the most innovative breakthrough science to the patient. And the second, how we make sure that we do that and to tackle some of the most complex diseases. And our underlying ambition is actually to cure those diseases. And going step by step.
To cure and then to prevent.
So there are two different pieces. So one is to do everything possible to cure diseases like the chronic diseases that are highly prevalent and complex to treat. And equally, if you think specifically on the vaccine and immune therapies point, how you can equally bring the new science to prevent the diseases. And I think it's fair from you to mention the prevention, because I believe one of the learnings we all had in COVID-19 is how important prevention is.
Oh yes.
And unfortunately, across the globe, many healthcare systems used to look at the health as a cost.
Yes, as a cost.
As a cost. And as a cost they don't want to have.
That's right. It's a burden.
It's a burden.
Yeah.
And I think the COVID-19 really showed to everybody, every one of us, no matter what we do, that the healthcare is a strategic investment.
Yes.
And it has to be a strategic investment for all the governments.
Yes.
And making sure that the healthcare systems are resilient on the crisis.
Yes.
And equally, that we make sure that we invest and resource prevention as much as we can.
That's true.
Should be the key strategic driver for the governments going forward. And I hope that learning will stay. I hope we will not forget that as a society.
Because the lessons this time are very expensive and also very enlightening.
Yes.
Before COVID, I heard healthcare experts talk about preventive medicine. So when COVID broke out, I think they have now learned nearly 3 years now that preventive measures are much more important than
Yes.
curing. And I think AstraZeneca is working towards that.
Yeah, so I think, again, as I said, there are these two dimensions. There are still, unfortunately, many diseases that
Yes.
we need to do our best to cure.
Yes.
But equally, there is a clearly important point in doing more and earlier
Earlier, yes.
in terms of the prevention. And I think when you think about the early diagnostic and earlier even earlier treatment, that definitely can prevent not only the disease always, but also the exacerbations or worsening of the disease.
Yes.
And with the today innovative medicines we have at hand, we are really able to do that.
Technology will also help a lot.
Yes, I don't think that innovative medicines, many of them would be here today if there is no technology that supports that.
That's right. And I like the word you use, life-saving medicine.
Yes.
Life-saving medicine. And that, I think, is what it's all about. You save lives. And of course, you improve quality of life as well. And I'm sure technology will become part of everyday life in public health. You know, here, before COVID came, we talk about digital doctors.
Yeah.
We talk about online medical consultation. We talk about how you can use a mobile phone and talk to doctors and nurses. No one believed it. Very few people believed it. They thought, oh, no. We have to go to see the doctor in person. We have to visit the hospital in person. To be able to talk to a doctor on a mobile phone, just does not, give you the real feeling of being treated. But there were some startups, medical startups. They call it medtech in Thailand. Young people working on, young doctors working on the startup. And I talked to a lot of them. And they said, yes, some awareness, but not enough. Then bang came COVID. And then suddenly, Thai people are willing to adopt and adapt to the new lifestyle. Do you see that as an encouraging sign?
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you, this is definitely something that we saw across the globe, no matter. And the whole idea of remote medicine,
remote medicine,
became as a business as usual everywhere. And it's really interesting how, as you are saying, it's changed overnight. Overnight.
Yes.
And it's not that technology didn't exist before.
It
did.
It was there.
Yes.
But people were not forced into it. And then when they said we won't touch it until it's absolutely necessary, then it became absolutely necessary, and you learn it's not that difficult.
No.
And it's, we call it home isolation here. When you develop some symptoms that are not serious, you stay home and you are registered with a particular clinic, a doctor. Then you talk to the nurse, the doctor on a mobile phone, and they will tell you what to do, how to treat yourself, and then suddenly everyone could do it.
Exactly.
So I was happy myself because I was trying to encourage the Thai people to adopt technology in their daily life, and that is one of them. So in the crisis, there's this great opportunity of change too, right?
Yeah, and I think this is always the case, when you think about the crisis, how we learn things, and then we also kind of accept things and then adapt to it and then continue to do that. And I think that, again, this crisis, as many others, always brings a lot of bad news. But equally, I do believe that there is a saying that we cannot waste any crisis.
That's right.
So
don't waste a good crisis.
Exactly. So this is really, in a way, opportunity for us to learn, to change, and to adapt, and to be a better society, if you want.
Another important topic is sustainability.
Yes.
How do you see that in AstraZeneca?
Yeah, talking about the society, yes, definitely. Sustainability is one of the strategic important drivers and priorities of AstraZeneca. You probably know that we were the first company that publicly committed to have the so-called carbon zero until 2025 across our full value chain, and you would appreciate that being a global, a big company, that value chain is very complex. It's not only AstraZeneca, it's also the vendors and from the manufacturing to R&D to the commercial activities. So having that bold ambition, I believe, speaks for itself, and speaks about how serious we are and how important that topic is for us. And being here and in many other places around the globe, I always say to our teams, this is not the ambition of the leadership or management. Each and every one of us, as the employees of this company, have to do our utmost best to help that goal, and that goes from the electricity and the usage of plastic, the cars, the traveling, and everything everything else that we can do. Equally, we announced number of the big global partnerships that will help us from manufacturing perspective specifically, with the new propellants that are part of our inhaled portfolio, that will then allow us to accelerate that process and hopefully deliver on our 2025 zero carbon ambition.
Do you find that this particular crisis has raised the awareness of individual staff members on sustainability as well? Because each and every one of us is in touch or has experienced personal experience with someone who is sick or have to take care of someone, or personally he or she himself or herself also has fallen sick, and then suddenly they realize that sustainability is not something up there, management or the senior people. It's everybody's business. Do you find that happening?
Absolutely. As I said, it's really about each and every one of us, and you can see the difference that COVID or the crisis, so with all its implication brought. And again, talking about not to waste the good crisis, I believe this probably can be viewed as also as an opportunity, because I think this personal responsibility and accountability for the society and the world around you is probably much stronger in general than it was before the crisis.
How long have you been with AstraZeneca yourself?
More than 20 years.
I know.
So I started very, very young.
Yes. What is your background? Where did you go to school? What did you study?
So I'm Croatian by origin.
Croatian,
It's like a Thailand, great country for the summer holiday.
Yes, beautiful.
Yes, that's why I also enjoy Thailand.
I have heard a lot of good stories about how beautiful Croatia is. And it's one of my dreams to visit.
Have to visit.
Yes. So how did you get into AstraZeneca? What did you study?
I have a medical background, so so that's how I started after the few years in practice. That's how I started in the pharma company, and I started as I was working in the clinical department, so I was starting as monitoring the clinical study that AstraZeneca was doing back then, and then at some point of time I fell in love in the ability to impact and change and bring value that goes beyond what you can do with your own hands, but equally beyond your own country, and that you can be a part of the global team that has this curiosity and energy to change things and bring new innovative things to the patient around, and that's something that I'm doing for the last 20 years. But I'm trying my best.
What was your first job, first assignment at AstraZeneca?
So I was working a few years in Croatia and in the area, and then my first international assignment was when I was sent to our, at that time, regional headquarters in Brussels in Belgium, where I was leading specialty care portfolio for Central Eastern Europe and Middle East and Africa.
So that was the first time you left home to go to an international assignment. How has COVID transformed AstraZeneca, and how has COVID-19 transformed you personally?
So I think COVID-19 transformed AstraZeneca in a way that, AstraZeneca today, even more than before, stands for, the best partner, the most innovative, the company that can do impossible things.
Yes.
I think COVID-19 changed AstraZeneca in a sense that each and every employee feels extremely proud of what we managed to do as a company. And equally, as you said, we are very popular in Thailand.
Yes.
We became a household name in many countries around the world.
Yes.
That brings in one side we can feel very happy about that and pleased. But equally, I always say, it brings a lot of responsibility of making sure that you continue to deliver according to that expectation.
Right.
I think COVID-19 changed probably each and every one of us personally as well. I think I started to appreciate more than before, if you want, being close and being good and taking time for the people that matters the most. And I also learned to appreciate and understand how important it is to be able to be with people, to travel, to be with the teams on the ground, to build this personal relationship that no Zoom or Teams can ever change.
You have to be there in person.
Yeah.
Right. When you first heard of, it wasn't called COVID then, when you first heard of the Wuhan.
Wuhan, yes.
What was your reaction? At first, what were you doing when you first heard it?
Yes, so actually I first heard it when my country president of Italy called me and I know I first actually understand what this can mean when the country president of Italy called me and say, Iskra, I cannot come to our meeting on Monday because they just closed Lombardia. Lombardia is the region in the north Italy. And I remember myself thinking, I don't even understand what does it mean they close it.
Is it that bad?
And it's also now I think now we understand and appreciate, but at that point it's something that I couldn't even understand how somebody can close the big region in Italy.
Right.
But I think that the first shock, as for everybody, was certainly there for us. And the first thing that we were discussing is, what can we do?
Yeah.
Because being the pharma company in the midst of the healthcare crisis, you cannot stop thinking of how you can help. And I remember first 2 months, we were donating the millions of the masks for the healthcare professionals because that was an issue at that point of time. And then 2 months later, we started we made a decision to partner with University of Oxford. It was in April, where we agreed that we want to do our utmost best to help them to further develop and then manufacture, supply the famous AstraZeneca University of Oxford vaccine.
At that point, AstraZeneca wasn't producing vaccine for COVID-19. You started to think seriously after it started to spread, right?
That is correct. So AstraZeneca had the vaccine against flu. So we were producing the vaccine against flu, but vaccine against COVID and the whole manufacturing network started to happen only in April when we decided, and we together with University of Oxford, to try to bring the vaccine to the world as soon as possible. So at that point of time, we started to build the manufacturing and the supply network in parallel, putting in place the phase 3 clinical trials and everything.
Within how many months? You started to say, we see something. We see light at the end of the tunnel.
You need to be optimistic when you decide to do something like this. So from the day one, we were absolutely convinced that this will happen and we will make it. And we had the difficult days, I cannot say, but you need to have this conviction and believe and the optimism, the positive thinking that you will make it. But the clinical trials and the results started to come somewhere during the summer, where you could have see with the more tangible data that there is a relatively high probability of the success.
Yes. So finally, what is your message for the Thai people who are watching us? What do you want to tell the Thai people about AstraZeneca and yourself?
So I think my message is, I really hope that 2022 we will see Thailand and each and every person here in the country, going successfully from pandemic to post-pandemic. I really hope, and I can promise that AstraZeneca will do our utmost best to continue support that journey. And I equally want to wish all of you all the best in exiting the crisis. And as you mentioned, I hope none of you wasted the crisis. And so make sure we'll learn from it and get better.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Iskra, I think this has been a great discussion, and I think Thai people will learn a lot from what you have just told me. Thank you for visiting Thailand, and thank you for your support for Thailand. And I'm sure you will bring back the message from Thailand, from the staff, from the senior government officials you meet, and from the Thai people in general.
I will certainly do. Thank you for the invitation, and I hope to be back soon.
Okay, back here, and I'll see you in Croatia. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
สนับสนุนโดยบริษัทกาแฟดำจำกัดสามารถติดตามสุทธิชัยพอดแคสต์ได้ทุกช่องทางทั้งระบบ iOS และ Android สุทธิชัยพอดแคสต์ anywhere anytime any device